What is going on, everyone? Today we're looking at the ROG Ally from Asus. Today though, in this video I want to do something a little different. I want to talk about 3 specific things that I encountered with this device that I didn't expect or didn't know how to deal with, and hopefully this helps you out in dealing with this device or really deciding if you want to get it if you're still on the fence. Meanwhile, I'm also working on videos about emulation for this device and a few other things. So with that, let's get into these 3 things. All right, the first one. If you own a Steam Deck or have looked at anything about Steam Decks, you might recognize this device. This is a dock. This one here is from Asus, if that's how you pronounce it. Now, there are very few Ally-specific, I should say, docks or really accessories yet for the Ally. So, naturally, I tried to use my Steam Deck one. Now, at first, I thought this didn't work. Number one, because the cord is very short. Let me grab the Ally here just to show you. So here is the Ally. Now at first I thought this might not reach the actual charging port itself, but it just barely does. Let's log in here. Oh, gotta use my pin. So it just barely fits in. However, it does fit. And the actual kind of thickness of the device itself compared to the Steam Deck, while the Steam Deck I think is a little thinner at the base, this catches the kind of grippy parts at the bottom and the sides just fine. It's not scratching up against the metal of the device or anything. It fits in there very well. Now, the real issue that I had with this device is a little setting here called AMD RSR, and by this device I mean the kind of dock for it. Now I thought maybe because this isn't made for the Ally, that this is more made for the Steam Deck, that it just didn't work. However, when I connected it to an external monitor, like I thought, it didn't work. It did not connect. It showed me that an HDMI was connected, but I couldn't switch over to it. There was nothing displaying on the actual external monitor. After maybe about 30 minutes of Googling, I learned this setting here, AMD RSR. Let me unplug that and get it a little closer to the screen. Sorry for the shake there. It's AMD RSR. That is some kind of a super resolution, upscaling kind of nonsense that I don't really like using. I prefer using the stuff in the game like AMD FSR or FSR2. But this setting causes it to be unable to display to an external monitor. So if that's on and you have this device and you want to use a dock like the Asus one here, turn that off and it will connect just fine as long as your HDMI cable is, good and your display is good and all that. That brings me to the second thing that I wanted to talk about with this device. So you'll see a lot of reviews talking about this device saying, it's great, it's more powerful than the Steam Deck, but having to deal with Windows is a hassle and it's not worth it for the extra power you get. I do not know what these people are on. Now, granted, I haven't used Windows on a mobile device since the Surface Pro 2 and the Surface Book later on. It is god-awful to navigate with a touchscreen. However, now I know this has been advancing the last couple of years as portable PCs like this have become more popular, but it works way better than I thought it would. The keyboard always comes up, so unlike setting up Windows on the Steam Deck, the keyboard will just come up when you need it. You don't have to know what the Windows shortcut is to bring the keyboard up or anything like that, or connect an external one. It'll just come up because this is a Windows device. And how accurate the touchscreen is honestly insane. I think I've only had a few misclicks. You can see how small here, the minus, the enlarge, and the close the window are. I very rarely have any misclicks. And if I do, it's because I have giant fat fingers that I can't operate properly. I've never once accidentally hit the wrong thing. And when I'm working with mods or emulation, these little files, it's really easy to hit the wrong thing, but I just don't. So I'm really surprised, especially after hearing so many reviews about this device, how well it works. And of course, if you do or are running something that's causing an issue with that keyboard, the default keybind is to hold the back trigger button here, and I believe up on the D-pad. Now that will only work if you are in the desktop mode, so be aware of that. So there are two modes, gamepad, desktop, and then auto to switch between them both. Some things like certain emulators will not work in the desktop or auto mode because obviously you need to recognize the controller, the controller as a controller. But you set that to auto or desktop. We'll get out of that real quick. Do that keybind, and it'll bring the keyboard up. I have mine set to a smaller one, but you can leave it set as the entire, bottom of your device like you would get on any Android, any iPhone, any Windows device. So I'm honestly really impressed with the keyboard experience and navigating Windows on a touchscreen. I feel like it has improved drastically over the years since those first kind of touch-based Windows laptops came out. Now, the last little thing I wanted to talk about in this video, the third thing, is to do with the battery and the power. Now, since I started recording this video, my battery was at 99%. It is now at 88%, and I've been recording less than half an hour, and I've played no games. Granted, I think I've been at the 25 turbo watt for a little bit, but even on silent, it's not much better. It's maybe, if you're playing games, doing stuff, you're gonna get about an hour out of this device. Playing AAA stuff, you're gonna get less than that, maybe 50, 55 minutes. Really, that's no different than the Steam Deck, but it is still, of course, disappointing when you have a handheld device that you can't really use going out anywhere. It's not a portable device, really. It's a device you mess around on your couch or your bed, and then you plug it in immediately once you are done with it. This is not a device you take anywhere unless you have a massive external battery pack that you're taping to the back of this thing. I think they are finally, whether from third party or otherwise, coming out with back mounts here to put, big boy batteries on. But as of right now, there's no good way to do that unless you 3D printed it yourself. So be aware of that. This device is extremely powerful for what it is. Is it like the marketing said, 100% more powerful than the Steam Deck? No. In a lot of cases, it's going to be 30 to 50% more powerful if it's on the highest wattage setting, like 25 watts and above. The Steam Deck still crushes this device when it comes to lower wattage things like 7, 8, 9 watts. But this device, like many other devices, you're emulating anything, you can stay at 10 watts. It'll crush everything up to like PS3. And PS3 runs poorly because the emulation is bad, not because this really needs better hardware. So the power and the battery trade-off, I personally think is worth it. I'm never going to, here, an example, I recently downloaded Exoprimal here. It's a new game on Game Pass from Capcom. Brand new AAA game. I can run it at maybe 30, 40 FPS on low settings with a mix of a few medium things. And it runs well, plays decently. I've still got some hitching in it, and I'm not sure if that's caused by shader compilation or if it's the device or the game itself. But I'm not going to be playing a game like that, a AAA game on a handheld, for more than about an hour anyway before I want to kind of get up and do something else. So for me personally, it doesn't matter. And when it comes to smaller games like here, Sonic Mania, I love Sonic games. I'm terrible at them. I've just recently started getting into them because I played them when I was young, when I had no idea what I was doing. But I thought it's finally about time for me to get back into it. And games like this are ones you can see yourself, first of all, the levels are quick. So again, if you're that kind of gamer, you can get it in and out, play your fill well before an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours is up. Obviously, with lower wattage games like this, you can squeak out up to maybe 2 or 3 hours, depending on your settings, depending on the game. But they're not games that you would want to play that long on a device like this. You can play this game very well on a Switch Lite, which is maybe the size of the screen of this device, or a regular Switch. And we're emulating, you're emulating PSP games. I have a bunch of PSP games set up here. So I got a few installed. I got Zelda, Minish Cap, some Switch stuff, some PSP stuff. All of these PSP games that I want to try, that I enjoy, that I like, I can go play them on a PSP. I can do all of these kind of things, which are going to get me more battery life and better portability and a more enjoyable experience to hold the device itself. This is not something you want to hold on to outside of leaning on your couch or reclining on your bed for more than an hour. It's just not. It's much smaller than the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck's probably a little bit more ergonomic, a little bit better feeling in the hand, But this is by no means bad when it comes to that. It's just not something you're really going to want to do, at least me personally. If I really want to sit down and play, Tekken 6, PSP game, I can crank out one of my PSPs or PS Vita or get the emulator up on my phone. It's just not something that matters to me, especially with a device this expensive. If you can afford this device, you can afford something to emulate smaller games that's going to have a much bigger battery, better battery life when playing them, and probably be more comfortable and more portable. This is for messing with stuff. This is for tinkering with stuff. This is a PC. So if you like messing with stuff, tinkering, modding, emulating, and just doing anything you can do on a PC, this is really awesome for it. So that's my experience with it thus far, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Sound off in the comments below any other questions you have or what you want to see in the next video, any maybe specific titles you want to see emulated. And with that, we'll see you guys all next time. Have a great one.